The biggest problem is that a quick glance shows the science they put forward has failed because the world is now cooling and all their projections for extreme events have not happened. That's the first problem. The second thing is their failed science is based on fraudulent figures. The Climate Gate exposes the models they use have been meddled with in order to conceal the truth. This is unacceptable in any terms, and the IPCC process should therefore be closed.
This hysteria about carbon dioxide has closed people's eyes and hands and ability to work for other real threats which are around you every day and all the time. I was, for example, in Bangladesh, which I told you about. There, obviously, it has been more marine. And you can see that they have getting out less water per month in channels. And they say, sea is rising. But what happened? They built a dam over Ganges. So then you have to evaluate, is that a good or bad thing? There's another place where they have cut down the mangrove trees in order to substitute it with shrimp ponds. It was an area where it was 4,945 hectares of mangroves. Today it is 150. You understand? It's an enormous vandalization in some way for the protection of flooding episodes. So now they just say, when they get increased problems, they say, oh, the sea is rising. So they don't have to do anything. But the real thing that they should reconsider what they are doing. And that is just one example out of hundreds and hundreds, nearly of thousands. All the day, every place, we are forgetting about urgent issues.
Because you see, throughout the world, there are many scientists who are doing very good and serious research who are not being covered by mainstream media because they're not part of the IPCC. So they want to have a voice in the debate. And so one of our purposes is to help them get to talk to people like you, to talk to the media about what they're really finding. And in many cases, they're finding things that are completely the opposite of what the IPCC are finding.
Primarily, don't say that sea level rises if it's not rising. Don't claim that carbon dioxide is ruling temperature if it's not doing that, if it's other sources which really are driving climate. And we know that in about 40 years' time, 30, 40 years, we are in a new solar minimum. We may have problems of being cold, not being warm. So all these should be faced, and when they have economical calculation far into the future, this is dangerous.
And so we issued actually something during this conference called the Copenhagen Climate Challenge. And it's especially important now after the data scandal that's happened in England concerning the basic temperature data. Now this temperature data is extremely crucial. It forms a major part of the UN document. It's one of their main platform issues. And so many scientists are starting to wonder if this basic science information on temperature is wrong, perhaps it's also wrong on hurricanes or sea level rise or glaciers melting. And so what we're challenging the UN to do is to share with us the observational evidence, the real data that relates to the claims they're making. So we've written an open letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations, and we've said to him, look, this is a very new field. We're in a period of negative discovery. The more we learn, the more we realize we don't understand. So we want to see the basic data, the observational evidence for, and we list 10 things. Things like polar bears, things like ice caps, things like hurricanes and extreme weather and all that stuff. And this open letter, this challenge to the United Nations, has been signed by about 150 of the world's leading climate experts, people the UN would rather not hear from.
There's a lot of people that sort of environmentalists, greenies, lefties, whatever, who go along with all this stuff, even though they know it's not true, because they believe it's somehow doing good. Now, that is not the case. It's actually doing bad. You see, burning food rather than eating it is bad, and the consequence is that food prices have gone up around the world and a lot of people are starving. It's wrong to trade carbon in order to increase energy prices, because the consequences is the third world has to pay more for energy, which is a brake on development. Now, the third world people, not the little dictators that run things, but the people should be asked what they want. Do they want to have wind farms and solar panels, or do they want clean water to combat malaria and low food prices? Now, I think you know the answer, everyone knows the answer, but the people here who are on a gravy train of their own make up the answer.